The media have been hammering President Trump, making scurrilous charges that his draconian immigration policies are separating families and losing track of illegal immigrant children.
The Trump administration is threatening to separate more parents and kids at the border, screaming and crying, "Please don't let me be taken away." They are traumatized.
And called about 7,600 of those children, and they couldn't find 1,500 of them.
Donald Trump really is obsessed with perhaps the most sick part of the entire policy, separating families from each other.
Predictably, the New York Times also weighed in with a piece titled, "Did the Trump administration separate immigrant children from parents and lose them?" Well, as you will see, this is not reporting. It's called trying to create a narrative, regardless of the actual facts, to manipulate readers' emotions and ultimately force a change in policy. Now, never one to forego a ride on the bandwagon, CNN's Hadass Gold tweeted this: a picture of immigrant children in what appeared to be cages with the caption, "First photos of separated migrant children at holding facility." Well, the inference, of course, being that Trump himself was consigning innocent children ripped from their mother's arms into wired cages. Well, the same picture was shared by former Obama officials like Jon Favreau and the usual Trump-hating activists such as Women's March board member Linda Sarsour. But there's only one problem with this photo. It's from 2014, you know, when the saintly Barack Obama and the compassionate ones were all in charge. At the time, the left-wing media did not consider detaining illegals worth covering. But now that Trump is trying to enforce our immigration laws, he's suddenly just a heartless thug. Gold had to retract her tweet, but she didn't apologize, writing, "Deleted previous tweet because gave impression of recent photos." They're from 2014. Well, Hadass, it gave the impression because you wrote that they were first photos of migrant kids in detention. Usually one doesn't label something first photos when they're 4 years old. Well, we're still waiting for the New York Times to apologize for its outrageous headline. It turns out that the Times could have answered their own question by reading further down in their own piece. Did the Trump administration separate immigrant children from parents and lose them? Well, no, they clearly didn't, because the Times writes that those children had arrived alone at the southwest border without their parents. So I have a question. How can you separate illegal alien children from their parents when the parents sent them here alone? Well, there is a glaring loophole in the immigration law that forbids Border Patrol from immediately deporting unaccompanied minors from Central America, non-contiguous countries. The illegals know this, so they abuse the system and, I would argue, endanger their children in the process. So what happens when an unaccompanied illegal minor, but remember, he or she could be 16, 17, or one day from his or her 18th birthday, by the way, crosses the border illegally? Well, the United States then throws them into what is essentially a foster care program. According to Steve Wagner, an HHS official, the 10,000 children and teens in custody cost the taxpayers over $1 billion annually. Others are, sent to sponsors. So what happens is the government finds the kids' sponsors or family members in the United States whom they can go to live with as their case proceeds, or better put, as it drags on for years. Well, of course, few show up for their deportation or immigration hearings. So as they charge that the Trump administration lost 1,475 immigrant kids, they didn't lose anybody. When HHS tried to check up on these kids with their sponsors, at times, remember, illegal immigrant families themselves, caring for the children, 1,475 failed to take the calls or even respond to the government at all. So the immigrant kids aren't lost. Their sponsors just haven't connected with the HHS or made themselves available. But if the media, they want to misconstrue that as losing a kid, well, okay, let's do that for a moment. As hypothetically, let's just say that that's correct. Well, Obama lost nearly 3 times the number of kids. The New York Times reporting a 2016 Inspector General report showed that the federal government was able to reach only 84% of children it had placed, leaving 4,159 unaccounted for. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember any media lashing out at Obama for losing kids or separating them from their families. In fact, Obama and his Homeland Security Secretary a few times tried to adopt a hard line on the unaccompanied minors when there was a huge rush at the border, as you recall, back in 2014.
Our direct message to the families in Central America: do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll get sent back.
Our message to those who are coming here illegally, to those who are contemplating coming here illegally into South Texas, is we will send you back.
Oh, one problem: they couldn't be sent home. They couldn't be deported because of the insane immigration laws we currently have in place. By the way, which is why Trump is right. The law has to change. Congress must act, not only to end this unaccompanied minor loophole, but the catch and release program, as well as chain migration, asylum fraud, all of it. So if you want to know why this anti-Trump media narrative is being advanced at this time, why? It's because Trump is close to making good on his promise to transform our immigration laws for the better. Even the left realizes this issue is a winner for Republicans. Tom Friedman, who is a favorite of the global elites, obviously New York Times bestselling author, even he this morning was recognizing this issue as a vulnerability for Democrats.
I think there are several things that are true that Democrats have to wrestle with. We cannot take every immigrant in a world that is splitting between a world of order and disorder.
Wow. Well, now is not the time to go wobbly on immigration or embrace some type of blanket amnesty. There is one point that the left and the right should be able to agree on, especially given the recent media indignation. We all want children to be together, unified with their parents. So let's make that happen in the country of their origin. It is immoral to allow laws on the books that incentivize people to send their children alone into a foreign country or to, frankly, make a dangerous trek with their parents. And until those laws change, immigrant children will continue to be separated from their parents, no matter what the president does now. And that's the angle.